Now, take a look, a closer look, at what's in that empty jar.
Wow. What are all those things squiggling around in there?
Are those animals, Grandpa?
That they are, Tim. Those little critters are called protozoa. They're animals that are made up of just one cell.
What's a cell, Grandpa?
A cell is the smallest unit of living matter. I've learned about that.
What about atoms and stuff? I thought they were the smallest.
Well, atoms and molecules are smaller than cells, Tim, but they're not living things. They're just parts. Now, as Tricia said, a cell is the smallest living unit in a larger organism. But sometimes a cell can be a complete living unit, like these protozoa here. Now, these little critters can reproduce and eat and adapt to the environment just like any other animal. But they're made up of just one cell.
They're really small. There must be hundreds in that drop of water.
Well, that's the way most of them are. In fact, some cells are so small that 50,000 of them would line up to measure just 1 inch. Now, Tricia, do you know how big the largest cell is?
I don't know. Aren't they all really small like this?
Well, actually, the yolk of an ostrich egg is the largest cell we know of. It's about the size of a baseball.
The whole yolk of an egg is just one cell?
Yep, but most cells are extremely small. In fact, your body is made up of about 100 trillion cells.
100 trillion?
And God designed them all.
So, the little moving blobs in our pond water are called protozoa?
Different ones have special names. Let me introduce you to the first man to try to name them all.
This thing is a microscope?
What do you see? Can I look?
It's a copy of a very old microscope made by this gentleman, Anton van Leeuwenhoek.
Grandpa, how come all these guys you admire have such strange names?
Well, it wouldn't seem so strange if you were Dutch and lived in the 17th century. Van Leeuwenhoek studied how people made lenses for eyeglasses. And then he made his own very fine lenses for his microscope. Now, in 1675, Van Leeuwenhoek discovered tiny animals like the ones you saw swimming around in a drop of water. He wrote descriptions and drew pictures of what he saw. He called his animals beasties or animalcules. Until Van Leeuwenhoek's microscopes, people had assumed that all living things were made up of blobs of some mysterious protoplasm.
But now they could look and see that there's more to God's creation than meets the eye.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
Well, at least we know that our expedition wasn't a failure. I think these guys should count as much as a frog.
Well, there's a lot of variety in there, Tim. There are over 45,000 different kinds of protozoa. Now, look here. Do you see the ones that are shaped like little blobs? There are all kinds of different shapes.
Yeah.
Well, this is an amoeba. Now, remember, it's a one-celled creature, but it can do everything that a larger living creature can do. Now, these shapes that are sticking out from it are called pseudopods. Now, pseudopod means false foot. The amoeba uses them to move around, but it also uses them to catch food.
Next time Mom complains about how I eat, I'll just tell her I could be using my feet.
I wouldn't recommend that, Tim.
The amoeba reaches out with two of its pseudopods and engulfs the particle that it wants to eat. Then it forms what's called a food vacuole to hold the food, and then digests it.
What's this one called? It looks kind of like a shoe.
Well, it's called a paramecium, Tricia.
A pebble is a rock of 1 inch to 2.5 inches. A stone has a diameter between 2.5 and 10 inches. A piece of rock from 10 inches to 50 feet in diameter is considered to be a boulder.
So the Earth's crust is 4 to 25 miles thick. The mantle is 1,700 miles thick. The outer core is 1,500 miles thick. And the inner core is 1,500 miles thick. There is a big world beneath our feet. And you know what? It's really hot down there. The mantle is 1,200 miles beneath the Earth's crust and is 5,400 degrees. The inner core is 3,200 miles beneath the crust and is 9,000 degrees. The deeper you go, the hotter it gets. This is called the geothermal gradient. Within the crust, God made all kinds of wonderful rocks and minerals for us to use and enjoy. First, let's take a look at rocks.
Rocks are not like plants or animals because they don't have the same cycle of life. But rocks do have a life, sort of. Through rocks, we learn about our Earth's history. Finely ground rocks serve to provide mineral-rich soil, giving life to plants for growing food. Rocks are responsible for the warm sand we walk on at the beach and for the majestic mountains that provide year-round recreation. Rocks are the foundation of the continents, from the very largest to the very smallest. Rocks provide an interesting place to start in our geology lesson.
There are 3 categories of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. And when God created the earth, igneous was the first real rock formed. Woo! Talk about hot!
Really hot stuff.
Igneous comes from a Latin word meaning fire. When volcanoes erupt, they emit molten or liquid rock called magma. When this magma cools and crystallizes, it's called igneous rock. Igneous rocks are made up of minerals whose crystals are tightly woven together. Some igneous rocks are found deep in the crust where the magma is forced into cracks and crevices called dikes, sills, and batholiths. When this happens, the magma cools slowly and large crystals are formed in the rocks. For example, in granite, one of the most common types of igneous rock, you can see the crystals that make up the minerals feldspar, quartz, and mica. If the magma or lava flows on the outside of the earth, it is exposed to air and cools quickly.
For example, obsidian rock is also called volcanic glass. It cools so quickly the crystals have no time to form. Obsidian rocks make great arrowheads because they have very sharp edges due to the way they fracture or break apart. The crystals that are formed from lava that cools quickly are much smaller and can sometimes only be seen with a special geological microscope.
Welcome to Cooking with Crystals. Today we have an exciting program that'll chill and thrill. Everybody ready? Alrighty then. What you'll need is 1 ounce of rock salt, 1 cup of boiling water, 1 shallow bowl, 1 piece of kite string, and 1 magnifying glass. They're better to see with, my dear. Now that we have our ingredients assembled, place the rock salt into the shallow bowl. Pour the boiling water onto the salt. Place a string in the solution, letting one end rest on the edge of the bowl. Let this stand in a sunny spot for several days. Well, let's see what we have here. Oh, look at our crystals. Salt crystals are cubical, and indeed we have perfect hues here. Remember, mineral crystals formed during rapid cooling will be smaller than those formed during slow cooling. Experiment with this by placing a shallow bowl of salt solution into the refrigerator and comparing it to the one that you placed in a sunny spot. And just for fun, we'll add food coloring to the spatula solution. Let's have a look.
Okay, I am. Me too.
Jerry?
We're fine.
Great. Good work. That'll be a half-hour lunch break for Shadow. If it looked dangerous, we wanted it to. And it would be for anybody else, but this is Jerry Terrian, and that's his friend Shadow. Jerry trains exotic animals for the movie industry. As a matter of fact, Shadow recently starred as Bagheera in the Walt Disney movie The Jungle Book. Everybody, we'll be moving on to the next location.
All right, guys, back it up. We're moving to the school.
Jerry doesn't only work with Shadow, he also works with lions, tigers, bears, wolves, baboons, a whole host of animals. In order for Jerry to do what he does and not get killed but stay safe, he has to learn to recognize danger signs. For instance, if he notices the pupils of the big cat's eyes getting very large, that means the cat's getting too aggressive and dangerous. Jerry can then take the necessary steps to avoid getting hurt. That means giving the cat his space, giving him time to cool off. We all have the ability to recognize danger. It's a matter of knowing what to look for that keeps us safe, that keeps us from getting hurt or being taken away. We'd like to show you how to do just that. So, the object of this program is to learn to recognize danger in our daily lives, no matter how small. That means learning to listen to your gut and trust your instincts. Guys, you ready? We're gonna see you in a few minutes. See you guys. Good morning, Hart. Nice to see you again.
Good morning.
Have they started already?
Just listen. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. Are you going to join us?
You bet.
Hey, come on, wait up.
Thanks again for the space, Hart. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Sure, you bet.
Check it out. Ouch! What'd she do to him?
I don't know. You go ask him. Welcome to the Key Eye Kids Safety Program, where being aware and opening your eyes to danger is the key. Now, on the other end of this gymnasium are a group of kids just like yourselves who are learning how to stay out of danger and get to safety. We hope you'll learn how to use your own imagination and instincts to keep yourselves out of danger, but in the meantime, they've just started learning how to get away if someone grabs them and then run to safety. You ready? Let's join the class.
What'd she do to me?
Yeah.
What I did is I grabbed her hair like that. She got hold of my hand and she squeezed it against her head. Yeah, that's enough, that's enough. Now she put her nose on her knee. Yeah, that's enough, that's enough. All right.
Can I do that again?
Forget it. You stay right there. All right, did we see what she did? And did we see what this young man did? We're going to come through with you and we're going to practice each and every one of you. But remember, if anything goes snap, you guys quit pushing. Do you remember what we did? That's what we did. What? This is where it's an advantage not being very tall, because it's quicker to get to the floor. Yes, that's quicker to get to the floor. Now you two, yes. You got to let go when I'm on the floor, crying. Ready? You got it. Yeah, you got it. That's it, I quit. Okay, that was great, that's easy, see? Next thing we're going to show you is, what if somebody gets hold of your shoulder like this? What Judy is doing is, she just pushes my hand off. She brings her hand close to my hand.